Hey guys, what's going on? Carter here. Got another comparison video for you. Like I mentioned in another one, rather than doing one 35, 40-minute video, figured I'd break it up into bits and pieces in case you're not concerned about one or the other comparison, but you are with a different one. So this is going to be the 0550 and the 0560, as you can see here. Both excellent, beautiful, killer collaborative knives. Absolutely like them both. I was leaning towards this one being my favorite out of the two, but now I'm kind of putting them both on par. There's things I like about this one over this one and vice versa, so I really like both of these knives. They're both excellent blades. But let's jump into it. Let's just take a little comparison here. Neither one of these feature choil, so we'll be able to get a really good comparison on the blades. And as you can see, what is that? Almost half an inch. Maybe actually a little under that. This is listed as having a 3.5 inch blade. This is listed as having a 4-inch blade, I believe. But a lot of the times, you know, depending on the model, they kind of measure it differently. And so they're actually a little bit closer than probably what you would think looking at the paper, you know, looking at the specs on paper. If you look at the blade or the handle length, though, you've got a ton more handle on the 0560 than you do on this guy right here. And that's because you're actually seated a little bit farther back because of this flipper, much more robust flipper design, and so you kind of need a little bit more space down at the back, but you do have quite a bit hanging out there, which I've mentioned before. Thickness is probably the biggest difference between the two. I mean, this is just a chunky beast. So you can see there. Actually, let's compare potatoes to potatoes, huh? So the liner side is almost exactly the same. The G10 is almost exactly the same. This is a little bit thicker at the thicker part, but of course, as I mentioned before, this is radiused. So along these edges here, it's quite a bit thinner than it is right down the middle. But even right down the middle, it's a tad bit thinner, the G10 side, than the 0550. This kind of follows more of the Hinderer design in that it's flat with just nice beveling around it, whereas this has the kind of contoured conceal carry type thing. The biggest difference is the TI side. Much thicker TI side. And I'm sorry if I'm not getting this on the camera very well. I'm kind of looking at the actual objects more than the viewfinder, which is not a good thing to do, I guess. Sorry about that. You know how it goes. So yeah, definitely thicker on the titanium. A lot thicker. And you can see that in the lock bars too. And you'll also notice, of course, I've mentioned this before, the lockup is quite a bit earlier on the 0550 than the 0560. But this one's a little misleading because of it's got bevel work on the inside of the lock bar that goes all the way to the edge. So your eye kind of wants to almost register where that beveling starts, is where the lock bar starts, but it actually starts further in here. So this is more like about 40%, whereas this is about 60%. So there's quite a bit of difference there. Both feature thumb studs as the stopping mechanisms. This one has a really thick stop pin for the closed position, which is kind of interesting because, you know, not many people are concerned about how thick it is when it's closed, but they put a really beefy closed stop pin in there, whereas this one has a much more modest size one, which, I mean, it doesn't really matter. That's not going to give you a bunch of weight loss or anything. It's just kind of interesting. The lock bars, as you can see, the 050 is quite a bit shorter, in fact a lot shorter, and it also, they look about the same thickness, I would say, in the middle. However, this has a lot longer of a lock space, so it's not quite as strong as this one. And by strong, I just mean the amount of force that's being held by this lock bar, wanting to push it in. This one doesn't quite have as much, which definitely helps in the flipper action on this. And flip it does. It flips really nice. The stone washing, well, both of these have bead blasted or media blasted titanium sides. Stone washing on the blades are the exact same. So same process. It's kind of a very light kind of stonewashing. Looks almost like a Media Blast itself. Ergos are, you know, the shape is actually very similar. If you look at the butts of these things, it's very, very similar. The way it kind of actually thickens out over here, and then it's got kind of this end cap portion there. Very similar in terms of design, but being that this is not only thicker, but it also isn't radiused, it feels much better in the hand to me. You know, that may vary based on your hand size, but this one just kind of, it's growing on me. It really is, guys, but it does feel a little thin for my taste. Still very, very nice. Both have tip up, tip down, right hand, left hand carry. I believe, did I mention the pocket clips already? I think I did. This has a very super deep, that's a technical term, very deep carry right there. So those of you who like that deep carry, there you go. Let's take a look at them kind of closed here. You know, overall they're actually quite similar just in terms of their overall shape and things like that. Both have 3 pillars holding it together. The pivots are the exact same. This one's black, that one's silver. I actually like the look of this better myself. Kind of, you know, getting into the weeds here, kind of looks weird, you know, compared to the stabilizer, this being black and that being silver, but whatever, it's, you know, that's just little quirky things, no big deal. The grip, it's kind of hard to talk about grip because I've changed out the scale on this. I'd say they're both about the same. I'd put them on the same mark. They're different, they're very different, but in terms of overall grippiness, I'd say they're about the same. Weight, gosh, you know, and please feel free to substantiate anything I say with actual numbers off the site, but I almost want to say that the 0560 is a tad bit lighter. If anything, they're about the same. They have really gone to great lengths to lighten this. They've got milling on both sides. This liner is just super skeletonized, so is this one, but this has huge pockets, even on the lock bar, huge pockets of material that's been removed. So this is just a very, very light knife. They've got, you know, all this, the swedge design with this high flat grind that all removes material and makes for a very strong yet still lightweight knife. Alright guys, I think I'm done talking. I don't usually like to go over 8 minutes if I can avoid it, so I will end it here. You guys have a good day. Later.